Blessed be everyone. Today's topic is magic and how it works. We must start at the beginning, and the beginning of magic is the being or the power. I refer to this being as the power. The power is within all things. The presence is everywhere. It's in the trees, the grass, the sunlight. The universe is in every single place. Many well-meaning people misunderstood the power and tried to force it into a religious identity. The Muslims call it Allah. The Hebrews call it Eloah, or they call it God or Adonai. Christians call it the Father of Christ, Abba. And many other people try to do this here. And when they did this, what they've done is diluted what the power was in theology and theosophy. You cannot dilute the power itself. So whereas there was no quantitative dissolution of the power, there was a psychological or a philosophical depleting of the understanding of what the power is. As a result, we end up with all of these different religions and denominations and factions within the denominations. Even in the pagan experience, people have formed clusters, groups, and tribes to debate, discuss the power, and they misunderstand what the power is. There is a notion that all things was created by the power or the great spirit or whatever it is. For the sake of all of my teachings, we will call this power the monad. We will call it the monad or the source or the force. This simplifies things and it divorces it from the stereotypical definitions of what the power is. So the monad is the power that flows in everything, literally. The monad does not create. And this is a misconception as well. A lot of people think that the world was created, the universe was created. But the monad does not create, the monad emanates. Emanation is different from creation. Creation indicates that there was a moment when the monad was not. That cannot be the case. Plato argued this very well. Plato says that the Greek gods were somewhat lacking for them to truly be God in the sense of being the all-powerful God. They could be lesser gods, but they could not be the all-powerful God because the all-powerful God has to be just that, all-powerful. There are four constructs that the power must operate in. The power must be omnipresent. That means everywhere at the same time. Everywhere. The omnipresence is not limited to time tenses, or senses rather. It's omnitime. Omnipresence and omnitime, same thing. The monad, the power, cannot have a past. It cannot have a future. It can only be in the eternal present. Einstein capitalizes on this idea and comes up with a theory called the block universe. The block universe simply means all things that have ever happened or will ever happen has happened simultaneously. Is in this eternal state of nowness to the monad. It's only we who are within time can move through this place chronologically to give us an experience. And so when we experience something, we can call that time. Okay? Now, we'll deal more with this in later videos and at later times. So now, this monad, this being, this power, this force, this source has to be all-encompassing. It has to be everything. And if he created or she created or it created, then that would mean there was a time when the monad was devoid. The monad was devoid to the object that was later created. So let's just pretend like the monad desired a car. And if the monad desired a car, what happens then is that the monad does not have a car, because you wouldn't have desire if you had it. So the monad desires a car indicates lack. For God to truly be God, or goddess to truly be goddess, there can be no lack. There can be nothing missing. Now, if God was to create the car, then once God has the car created, there was a time that God did not have the car, or there was a time that the car did not exist. Well, if this is the case, then the monad cannot be monad, because again, it violates omnipresence. Omnipresence also gives rise to what we will call omniscience, which means knowing everything. The monad has to know everything, and the reason the monad knows everything is because the monad is always in all places at all times. This allows the monad to know everything, because if you're everywhere, you see everything. If you see everything, you know everything. So monad knows every single thing. Now, when we look at it all together, we run into a dilemma, because none of this actually makes sense. It's not logical. And this is what happens with science. It happens with religion. None of this makes sense. A being that has always been, that doesn't create, and that's not contained by the constraints of time, that's just there and always been there. See, the preacher runs into trouble here, because the question is, where did God come from? Who made God? You know, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And so science runs into the same problem when they try to use their apparatuses to figure out how the universe works. They run into the same problem. They get beyond the singularity, everything gets dodgy. Where did everything come from? You know, it doesn't make sense, you know. Where did the first universe come from? Where was the first star born? What took place? And even the theories of Einstein don't really make sense. Entanglement, phantom elementals and phantom particles and, you know, phantom electrons. How does that make sense? How do two things, once they were entwined, communicate at great distances without travel, without sound waves? How does that work? And even when we see it displayed in twins or people that are just really, really close to each other, how does it work then? You know, a daughter can be somewhere and a mother can feel what's going on with her daughter, or vice versa. You know, the son could be somewhere and the brother and sister. It's amazing how this family type of telepathy works, you know. So string theory can only give you so much information, and spirituality can give you only so much information, but then it's silly. It really, there's no explanation after that point. There is nothing else there. So logically, this doesn't make no sense at all. You know, logically, a being that is always there, needs nothing, that has everything, can supply everything, and is always in every place at every time, every imagination, every being, every person, every state, every country, every universe, every atom, everywhere. And what gets more funkier is when science says that there's not several electrons, there's only one electron. And this one electron can move through time in such a way that this one electron is every single tree you see. It's within every tree, every person, every body, every structure, every substance you see. It's just one, not many electrons, not copies of the one. It's the one electron in different places at the same time, but it looks like it's different and it looks like it's many of them. That makes no sense. Quantum mechanics makes no sense. Logically, it really cannot be understood, no matter how scientists try to pretend as if it can, and no matter how the pastor try to pretend as if he knows. So the only explanation to all of this is magic, faith, and belief. The way this universe is ordered, the way it is shaped, the way it is moved is all magical thought. Every single bit of it. Every atom, every neutron, every star, all the stardust, every person, you're here magically. And to those that want to do the magical arts, you have a head start in trying to figure out all of this magic. You know, you're already up on the game. Because while everybody around here trying to use their five senses, which are magical senses, but they don't know that, and they lock themselves out of the magic, becoming muggles or cowards, and they don't look at the magical lens thinking it's pretend or thinking it's fake or fictional, and they won't look at it. They'll laugh and scoff at what I'm saying right now. Like, no, there's no such thing. You must think you're Dumbledore, Harry Potter, or Snape. You know, that's what they will say. But the truth of the matter is that it's a magical universe because we're here. How did we get here? Where did the first thing come from? See, logic demands chronology, sequence. It's a type of a symphony of cause and effect. But right here, there's nothing logical about us being here at this time. The way we can think and move and speak, communicate, the way our bodies operate, there's nothing logical about it. You can explain the logistics of it, but when you think about why does somebody just expire? They never, had a sickness or disease. They just got older. Why did the cells get older? Don't confuse the explanation with the process as if that is the explanation. They can explain the stages that they've created that the cell goes through that has caused aging to occur. But they still don't know what the hell it is. They are clueless. Why someone that has no diseases get older and just dies. Or these other things. Is all a matter of faith, magic, and that's the true sense of spirituality. So, if you're to be a witch, a sorcerer, a magician, a necromancer, a hoodoo worker, voodoo priestess, whatever you call yourself, it starts with understanding that everything in this universe is magical. To the practitioner, there is no such thing as the mundane. And so we need to get our minds out of logical thinking and more into magical thinking. Now, scientists will laugh at us, and a lot of so-called educated, upper, bougie people may laugh at this. However, in their own disciplines, they have what we call magical thinking. They just compartmentalize it. In algebra, you have imaginary numbers. You have, imaginary numbers. You have abstract thinking. That's what geometry, calculus, and all of that is. In the social sciences, they have the type of thinking. They don't know what pain is. I remember in my first psychology course I ever took in school, The question was, is pain really real or not? Is it real? How can we know it's real? You know, like all of us can go outside and experience the earth. We can put our feet on the earth. We can feel how the earth is. We can feel how the earth moves under our toes, not necessarily the orbit of the earth, but, you know, we can feel how the grass feels. But when someone hurts their toe or hurts their foot, then all of a sudden, you know, nobody else really feels that unless you're a powerful witch or a powerful empath. You may feel what the other person feels, but usually that pain is within that person's own bodies. So how do we know that it's real? And that's what the psychologist was asking us. How do you know that pain really exists? Especially if everybody have different pain thresholds, where we try to take into account the placebo effect. How do we know that that actually happens? That it's actually real? How is that possible? Now, I'm going to place this teaching on both my Hoodoo channel and Wintercrest. And the reason I am is because I think this is a good intro to magic. And if we start here and we begin to move in a more magical way, I believe that both groups will really get a great benefit out of it. Now, before I conclude, let me say this. What should you do to cultivate within yourself a more magical mind? Well, in order to do that, there's a few things you have to do. Number one, you have to stop feeding off of the social media cycles that don't give you a confirming bias of magic. Yeah, you have to stop watching the television shows, the music that is not confirming magic. If it doesn't refer to magic and it's not talking about magic and is not lifting your spirits, where you're wanting to be a better person, you got to stop with all the hoes, the bitches, and all those type of rap songs. And you have to go into a place where the music, the media, social and otherwise, is reinforcing what you already believe. So start watching Charmed, stuff like that. The Last Airbender. Start watching things that will cultivate your spirit. Start reading books, fictional books, Discovery of Witches, the Harry Potter series, Percy Jackson, anything that will bring you into a magical way of thinking. And then back that up with music. On top of this, you want to do affirmations 2, 3, 4 times a day. Do them on your lunch break. Do them before you go to work. Do them after you get off. You want to do affirmations that will help engage your mind and your spirits. Do them every day, especially before bed. Do affirmation. I am magical. I live in the magical world. I believe in spell casting. I believe in hoodoo work, or whatever you want to see in your life. So do affirmations. After you do the affirmations, do visualization. See yourself like these fictional characters. See yourself doing the spell. See the result of the spell. Visualize you living your most meaningful, magical life on a constant basis. And then the third thing you want to do is you want to kind of meditate right before you go to sleep. And you can combine visualization with meditation. Close your eyes and see everything that you want to bring into your life as you fall off to sleep. This is a good start. This is a good start. Then seek out friends. Seek out buddies of fellowship. People that will reinforce what you're doing. Listen to these videos over and over and over again until you know them by heart, so that they can get inside of your spirit if you're wanting the best out of your craft. Then the aesthetics are important. Start buying things in your home that reflect your desires. Go buy ones and buy crystals and buy magical themed posters and decor. Buy a keychain or t-shirts. Only wear magical t-shirts when you're off work. You may have a dress code at work, so don't do that at work, but when you're off work, all of these things will help you cultivate a magical mind, because you're going to need that mind as we go forward. Listen, if you don't believe you can do the magic, you will never do the magic. There's a verse in the Bible that says, according to your faith, so be it. And that's one of the few verses that I really believe. If you believe something is possible, then it will be possible. If you believe that it's not possible, then it won't be possible. It is very sad that most people won't even take upon this path. The path is narrow, and few of us there be that finds this path. But if you want to really be a real mage, a real worker of magic, then it's important that you put in the real work to do so. Well, we're going to stop here, but I'm going to be picking up on these things very, very soon. And I have a whole lot of videos on it that I got coming. We're going to be talking about this and trying to get you all the equipment you need to be as magical as you want to be. This is Paul Abayarafu. Until next time, everybody, blessed be.